So my toxic trait is always thinking that I can change a recipe and make it a little bit better. I don't know if it's gonna work. So let me give you the vital statistics of our 3 angel food cakes. It's no surprise that the shortest and squattest of them all is, and I could not have been more incorrect. I don't know that I actually really liked that much, or if it was just a vessel for cream and strawberries. It's not that great. I have a lot of angel food cake to eat now. Have I made 2 angel food cakes in less than 24 hours, you ask? Yes, I have. And am I gonna make another one with you right now? Yes, I am. Hey there, welcome to my kitchen. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Today I am elbows deep in angel food cake. This is another one of those recipes that I have been avoiding for almost my entire life. Now, don't get me wrong, I've made probably 50 angel food cakes in my day, but they all come from a box. This is like the easiest baked good to possibly make. It is a just add water cake mix, but I've never made one from scratch. Well, never before today. Angel food cake, at its most basic, sugar, flour, egg whites. That's kind of the magic combo to get this nice, tall, light, airy, fluffy cake. You get that from really careful manipulation of a whole bunch, a dozen of egg whites. And what that means is it can be kind of temperamental. And for some reason, previous to today, I had it in my head that it was impossible or at least very difficult to make an angel food cake. And I could not have been more incorrect. The reason we're making a 3rd cake today is because I'm gonna experiment a little bit and try to pumpkin flavor an angel food cake. Adding something heavy like pumpkin, I'm not sure it's gonna work. There's a couple tricks that I learned along the way that I will tell you today as we make our 3rd angel food cake. That will help you if you want to try this at home as well. This, by the way, is on a list of a couple of egg dishes that I have been avoiding for most of my life, and I'm going to make all 3 of them in sequence for you this week. The first, angel food cake. The second, pavlova. And the third, souffle. I hope that all 3 of them turn out, but if you like to watch people fail on the internet, this might be a good space to keep an eye on over the next week. So a quick word about special tools and equipment. While you can make an angel food cake in a loaf pan, the recommended way to make an angel food cake is in what's called a tube pan. This is not a bundt pan. They're 2 different things. A tube pan has very straight sides and a removable tube in the middle. The purpose of this tube pan is so that when your egg white mixture goes in the pan, it can climb up the edges and the inside tube of this tube pan. So you see how tall those angel food cakes were? It will not be that tall when we put it in the pan. This was relatively inexpensive. I can link one down below. If you want to make a traditional looking angel food cake, I'd recommend procuring a tube pan. For the recipe that I'm following, which will also be linked in the description box below, we need to make some superfine sugar. So you can either buy superfine sugar or you can just mix it up in a food processor. I have a hand mixer. You can also use a stand mixer, but we are whipping a dozen egg whites for a while. So you would definitely get quite the arm workout. And then ingredient-wise, we're using something called cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is found in a lot of baked goods with egg whites because it tends to stabilize the egg whites and make them a little bit easier to work with and make them also come to stiff peaks a little bit easier. You can find cream of tartar in your spice aisle at any grocery store. The only other special tool that I would say we have on the bench is a whole bunch of room temperature eggs. We're going to separate the eggs into yolks and whites. I'll link a quick tutorial on how to do that here, but you want a full dozen eggs. And if you're new to separating eggs, you might consider buying more than just a dozen in case you have an accident. Egg whites are pretty particular. They will not whip to their full potential if they have any fat in them whatsoever. So you want to do a couple things when working with egg whites. Make sure your bowl is very clean, doesn't have any remnants of oil or grease in it. You want to make sure your egg whites are at room temperature, and you want to separate them exceedingly careful so as not to get any yolk into your whites. If that happens, have a scramble with those eggs and start over for this angel food cake. So I think that's enough jabbering. Let's get going. So the traditional angel food cake, the one that I made from scratch for the first time this morning, involves a process of making some superfine sugar, aerating the flour with part of the sugar while we beat our egg whites with some cream of tartar and the remainder of that superfine sugar. Then you fold the flour mixture into the egg white mixture and quickly pop it into a pan and into the oven. So the first thing I'm gonna do is mix up the pumpkin mixture, pumpkin pie spice, adding though a little bit of ground ginger and a little bit of ground cardamom. So it looks like this mixture is nice and whisked up. I'm gonna add just a tiny little splash of vanilla. And while this vanilla is in a reused container, it is homemade vanilla, and I use bourbon in it, so it's kind of a nice smoky flavor that works really well with pumpkin. I want to put pumpkin in everything at this time of year. I want to put maple in everything at this time of year, and I also want to put bourbon in everything at this time of year, including in my cup many evenings. Okay, pumpkin mixture off to the side. Next up on my bench, I've got my dozen egg whites, very carefully separated. The yolks are in my fridge and they will go to some other purpose. I have cream of tartar, a little bit of salt, and in a fine mesh sieve, cake flour. So on this side of my bench, a tiny little food processor, regular granulated sugar. So what we're gonna do with this granulated sugar, put it into the food processor. All we're doing in this step is kind of grinding down our sugar into a little bit of a finer crystal. Okay, that looks great. I'd say our sugar looks super fine. So we're gonna take part of this sugar, about a cup, which is most of it, and set that to the side to whip with our egg whites. I'm now going to add our salt and our cake flour. So cake flour goes in. The goal is to really mix this all together and aerate the mixture a little bit. That looks great to me. I'm gonna leave the lid on because I don't wanna dust my entire kitchen with sugar and flour, but I'm gonna move this to the side. Switching out my tools, egg whites, cream of tartar. So over our egg whites, I'm just gonna sprinkle in cream of tartar. If you've never worked with cream of tartar before, it can be found in the spice aisle of most major grocery stores. Cream of tartar is an acid, and it works together with egg whites to help stabilize them. So you end up with something that is glossy and thick and billowy when you're working with egg whites or making a meringue. But now that I've got this base with the cream of tartar incorporated, I'm gonna go up to a medium high and start incorporating slowly, a couple tablespoons at a time, this entire cup of sugar. It should look glossy, it should be completely white, and it should be soft peak formation, which means you hold your beater up and the peak holds some of its shape but falls a little bit as well. It's dripping off of my whisk and holding on, it's not just falling off, and it's maintaining a little bit of a ridge right there. You can also tell when I'm mixing it, you can see the trail of the mixer through the egg whites. So this is far enough for me. I'm just gonna add a little bit of vanilla, a couple teaspoons. Give that one last whisk. Looks great to me. Okay, now we are to the gentle part of the operation that involves a lot of folding. If you need a quick tutorial on folding, I'll link one right up here. So we have our soft peak egg whites. We have our flour mixture, flour, sugar, salt. And I'm just gonna toss that back into this sieve. So we're gonna sift all of this mixture in. So in several additions, we're going to sift flour, sugar, salt into our egg whites. A little bit of the flour, sugar, salt mixture, fold. So you sift because sometimes you end up with little chunkies in your flour, even though we aerated it. So I've got a really nice, homogeneous, light, fluffy, billowy, glossy cake batter. And I'm about to ruin that. So my goal is to make this a pumpkin angel food cake. To do that, you gotta add some pumpkin. Pumpkin is much denser than the egg whites that we've got going on here though. So I think what I'm gonna do, sacrifice a little bit of the egg whites, mix it pretty vigorously with the pumpkin to lighten the pumpkin mixture up, and then fold gently the pumpkin back into the egg whites. I'm not gonna take it till it's completely without streaks, because I wanna make sure we still have some lift. So what that's done is it's lightened this up significantly, actually. That's a great result. Working quickly and gently, I'm gonna fold this pumpkin mixture into our egg whites, making sure I'm getting all the way to the bottom. When I pour the batter into the pan, what I don't want is for pumpkin mix at the bottom to weigh the angel food cake down. Okay, I think that better be it. I can tell I'm knocking a fair amount of the air out of it. It's not perfectly mixed, but my hope is that it's not too heavy and it can still climb up the pan, but I don't know, I'm making this up as I go along. I'm gonna put this right in the oven. So again, my oven's at 325 Fahrenheit, bottom third of the oven. 40 to 45 minutes is what the other angel food cake took. I have a feeling this might take a little bit longer because the volume is bigger, but I'm just gonna use the skewer test, insert something in the inside. If it comes out clean, it's done. Oh, cross your fingers. Hope this one turns out. Angel food success. I have officially faced my fear 3 times today. Well, really 2 times today, considering this is a box cake mix. So let me give you the vital statistics of our 3 angel food cakes. It's no surprise that the shortest and squattest of them all is the pumpkin angel food cake. I added a whole bunch of heavy pumpkin. Of course, it's gonna stop the rise, and of course, it's gonna make it a lot heavier. Took longer to cook at 50 minutes, measuring it at 2 3/4 inches tall, 866 grams. Looking pretty good, actually. If you look really closely, you may see a handprint in the top. It's very hard to get an angel food cake out of the tube pan because you have to invert it, and this one is pretty soft at the top. I think I cooked it completely, but we'll see when we cut into them. Anyway, back to the vital statistics. Next, the homemade angel food cake, which it's worth noting has the kind of crispiest top. It's the blondest, but decently sure that I cooked it for the right amount of time. From scratch, 3.5 inches tall. Took 45 minutes to cook and 722 grams. I would expect this one to be a lot lighter than that one, of course, because I added a whole bunch of stuff to this one. Finally, the store-bought angel food cake, 4 1/4 inches tall, 3/4 of an inch taller than our homemade one, 648 grams, the lightest by 75 grams or so. And it took 47 minutes to cook, so it took a little bit longer than our homemade one. From an appearance perspective, honestly, this is what I'm used to angel food cake looking like because I've only ever cooked them from a box or bought them at the store. That said, there's something about this one's top, the homemade one, the top that's like crispy, delicious, that I'm really excited to crack into. This one looks more like a pound cake, if I'm honest. It looks a little squatty, it looks a little short. I have a feeling it's gonna be less airy, but probably more flavorful since we added all of those fall spices. So I think the next step is to cut into them. Using a serrated knife, just gonna cut a little piece out of each. This is so much fun. So, not surprisingly, the pumpkin one looks a little bit dense. Feels a little bit dense too. I think I cooked them all pretty well. The store-bought mix looks the lightest and fluffiest, which hurts my heart. I wanted the homemade one to be the best one. Still might be. Taste is really important. This one, I'm impressed with the kind of crispy-ish top. I think I'm gonna start with the box mix one because that's the one I'm the most familiar with the taste of. Tastes like angel food cake. The problem with this is that it requires like cream or strawberries or something because it's kind of a little bit dry. It's still pleasing and it's still the taste and texture that I'm used to, but it's not something that I would want to really eat by itself. Okay, next up. For the homemade one, cross your fingers. I need another bite. Not dry at all, but not stodgy or gummy either. Super, super pleasant. I'm struggling a little bit because the only angel food cake I've had for like 30 years is either box mix or store-bought, which I'm sure the store-bought has just the same amount of kind of crappy ingredients that the box mix has. I really like the crispy top on this one. It's a nice change in texture to the just really kind of soft and pillowy rest of the cake. So far, this is my pick, and not just because I made it homemade. The flavor is better, the moisture content is better. It just feels like a better dessert to me. Let's go for the pumpkin, the experiment. Yeah, immediately I feel that it's a lot heavier. I did get a little bit of rise out of it though, which I was surprised about. That flavor is really nice. It's definitely heavier. It doesn't feel as angel food cakey. It feels somewhere between angel food cake and like just a regular cake mix. Doesn't feel as thick as pound cake necessarily. That's something I noticed about the box mix one. It doesn't feel tough in my mouth, but to cut, it's a little bit tough. There is a taste that the box mix one has that my palate is super familiar with, but I don't think it's supposed to taste like that. I think it's kind of a chemical-y taste. The homemade one does not taste like that at all. And somehow it's more pleasing to me. Maybe it's because I've had it less frequently, but yeah, the homemade one is the winner. And again, not just because I made it. I made all three of them. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for sticking around with me for like 36 hours of angel food cake making. These were surprisingly easy. If you've never made an angel food cake from scratch, I would highly recommend it. I think this is a superior angel food cake, the one that I homemade. This one, nice effort. I like it, I'll eat it. Novel and a way to bring angel food cake into the fall, but it's less angel food cakey than these two are. And I'm not sure that the angel food cake in the store, I don't know that I actually really liked that much, or if it was just a vessel for cream and strawberries, because eating this angel food cake by itself, it's not that great. It's not something that I would ask for seconds of. This definitely is. Pretty pleased with this. Let me know if you like this style of video. I'm always happy to face a fear of mine, especially when I can cook a few different things at one time and compare them. The scientificness of weighing and measuring, I can't guarantee that every time though. That really hurt my brain. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you spending your time with me. If you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe to my channel. If you liked this video, please give it a like. I have a lot of angel food cake to eat now. So, signing off from Angel Food Cake Central. Cheers.